And welcome back, students. As we dive into our next unit, we are now going to discuss files and formats. Now, some of this stuff you might already be familiar with, which is great, but it's always good to review it to make sure that you have that fundamental understanding. So let's first kick off with asking ourselves, what exactly is a file? Well, a file is going to be a single resource for storing information. That's our definition that we kind of want to run with here for the scope of this class. Now, files, of course, have many different uses and can come in many different formats. A format, of course, is being the extension that follows a file name that identifies what kind of file it is, whether that is an image file, a document, video file, audio file. The format is what helps identify that for the computer in order to use it. So let's start off with music. All right. So obviously, some of you have probably heard of the MP3. This is probably one of the most common digital music formats. It's very widely used. Of course, there's a lot of nuances into the different qualities of MP3s that have to do with things like bit rate, but we're not going to worry too much about that right now. Just know that higher the bit rate, the better the quality. Now, MP3 is what's known as a lossy compressed format. Lossy meaning that it's using algorithm to remove pieces of the audio that pretty much don't matter. Right? So it's like things such as, it's beyond the human range of hearing, or it might be a sound that is, so fine in relation to the sound right next to it that if you remove that piece of it, the human ear won't be able to detect it. Now, here's some other formats that you may have heard of. We have WAVs, or WAV, which is a lossless, uncompressed format. Lossless means that it has not been compressed. All right, it's uncompressed. All right, there's no algorithm that's kind of really been applied to it. You have WMAs, which are lossy compressed, and OGs, which are part of the OGG Vorbis format, which are also lossy compressed. Now, when we get into some productivity extensions here, you're going to recognize, I'm sure, a couple of these right off the bat. So we have docx, xlsx, pptx, and .pub. If you are not familiar with these, that's okay. We're about to review them. But if you do know what they are, you probably have recognized that these are Office apps. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Publisher. These are all extensions that belong to those apps particularly. Yes, there are some other apps that can't open them. For example, you can take a docx, upload into Google Doc and convert it over, or you can use an app like OpenOffice or LibreOffice to also open docx files. However, because it's not natively Word, you can sometimes run into some weird formatting changes. Now, what do all these next type of files have in common? So we have BMP, JPEG, PNG, and GIF. If you have figured out and you said that video is the answer, you're wrong. They're not video files. They are picture files, or image files is another way to think of it. BMP is short for bitmap, so you may want to remember that, bitmap. JPEG, of course, is the JPEG format. PNG, portable network graphics, and GIF, of course, is well known for its rounds on the internet. All of these, of course, are different formats. The probably highest quality one on this list is PNG. You can also have high quality GIFs, but PNG is probably one of the better ones for things like support like transparency. Now, what about these toughies? Now, these ones you may not know. So a PDF. Do you know what a PDF is? What about a TXT file or an EXE file? Well, the answers are that a PDF is something that's open with Adobe Acrobat. You can, of course, open PDFs with a web browser these days, or even Microsoft Word. Though with the Microsoft Word, there might be some rendering things that go on because it has to try and open it as a Word document. You have TXT files. These are commonly opened with a text editor, such as Notepad. And you have EXE files. These are executable files. They kind of self-extract and run their own. There's no particular app that runs them. Now, what do these mean? All right, so if we start with docx, well, that just stands for document with XML support. So it's a Microsoft Word document. Word processing, that's its goal and objective. It also has the familiar doc, which is just an old version of Microsoft Word prior to 2007, doc of course standing for document. You have XLS files, which of course I've mentioned stands for Excel spreadsheet. Now I've stylized these a little bit here, so if you notice these look a little different because I stylized them so that you can see how they pulled the letters out to make the abbreviation. And of course XLS, if you notice there's no X again, which is the old version of Microsoft Excel. PPTX, of course, is for PowerPoint with XML support, and PPT is the old version of PowerPoint. Of course, Pub, I've already mentioned, stands for publisher. PDF is what is known as a protected document format. Remember, these can open with Adobe Acrobat or Adobe Reader. That's the most common app associated with PDFs. Of course, web browsers can also open them, but if you had to ask, which one is going to open it, the answer is going to be Adobe Acrobat. And of course, TXT files just stands for a simple text file. Now, these can open with kind of any text editor. You might say Microsoft Word. Well, Microsoft Word is actually not a text editor. It's a word processor. So it does a lot of like different formatting and stuff like that that is beyond the scope of what a TXT file will handle. TXT file, best thing to open that on Windows, probably Notepad. It's built right in, it opens it, it's all you really need. Now, MP3 is short for MPEG, MPEG, excuse me, not MegaPeg, MPEG or MPEG audio layer 3. WAVE is for waveform audio file. WMA is Windows Media Audio. Now, OGG is the kind of the interesting one out of our acronym soup that we've been dealing with here. It's actually not an abbreviation, but is derived from the term OGGing and used by Zip.org Foundation. So the Ogg Vorbis Foundation is kind of what it's used by, and it was just kind of a term that was used, and they described it for this audio. So now, BMP, of course, is bitmap. Like I said, hey, you should remember this. Here it is, bitmap files. JPEG, of course, is JPEG. There is an actual name for JPEG. I'm not going to have you worry about it at this level. If you decide to go on to the computer apps, you might need to know it. But for a regular JPEG, all you really need to know is it's a JPEG. GIF, of course, is graphic interchange format. That one would be a little bit easier to digest. JPEGs is a lot more complicated because it's a big acronym. And PNG is portable network graphics. All right, and that's it. It's kind of a quick one, folks. Just a lot of kind of quick, simple definitions for our first lesson of this unit. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you to go ahead and get started on the lesson.